Hey, 8th graders, how's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's doing well. It's our second lesson from the SCAZA Too Good for Drugs program. But before we get started, I'd like to just review from last week's lesson. Okay, so last week we learned that in order to reach a goal, it's necessary to make good decisions. We learned that by using the decision-making model, which was the stop, think, act, and reflect model, we can make thoughtful decisions. Remember, it's really important to stop and think about the question that is at hand and think of all our possible outcomes and consequences before we act. Okay, and then also remember, once we do make a decision, it's good to reflect. It's good to look back and see if we made the right choice. And if it was not the right choice, then maybe next time you'll be aware that you can make a different decision. Okay, so we also learned that there are influences out there such as peer pressure, fitting in, the media, so social media, TV, movies, that really affect our decisions or can affect our decisions. So today we're going to learn how our emotions can influence the decisions we make. Okay, so 8th grade lesson 2 is about identifying and managing our emotions. Okay, so how we feel on the inside. Why is this important, you might ask? It's important because people who can recognize how their emotions can influence their decisions are better prepared to make more thoughtful and rational choices. Okay, so we're going to help teach you how to do that today. Okay, I want everybody to think of a time that you made a decision based on an emotional reaction. Okay, really think about it. Think about how it turned out. Okay, was the outcome of that decision a good outcome? Sometimes, but sometimes, most of the time, probably it wasn't the best decision that you made. Maybe, for instance, your best friend made you really mad, maybe did something, I don't know, that you just really didn't like. And instead of going and telling your best friend and confronting them and talking through the situation, you might have, I don't know, gone behind her back or his back and said something that you shouldn't have said, maybe one of their secrets. And it could have destroyed your relationship or your friendship. So today we're going to learn more about how our emotions learn more about our emotions and how to manage them. So situations like that might not happen, okay? But who can tell, or think of what it means to be emotionally self-aware. Okay, so emotional self-awareness is our ability to recognize our feelings and manage them. Okay, being self-aware helps us to step back and evaluate what we are feeling and then respond appropriately. Holding emotions in and the opposite, oversharing emotions, can prevent us from managing our emotions in a healthy way. Okay, bottling up those feelings and holding them in is not the best choice. All it does is make you feel kind of yucky inside. Okay, also oversharing, telling too much. Okay, that can be a problem too, and could be unhealthy. Okay, so we're going to look at a couple of situations that can trigger an emotional response. Okay, so maybe frustration, sadness, anger. I'll read the questions and the choices, the multiple choice, and you can either jot down maybe on a piece of paper your answers or just keep them in your head, which one you would pick. Okay, and then we'll go over them. All right, so the first one, the person you've been dating for 6 months breaks up with you unexpectedly. You, A, tell yourself it's fine, but really you are hurt and confused. B, recognize that you are sad and try to find out what went wrong. Or C, start sharing your sob story with everyone. Okay, number 2, when you are having a bad day, your friends, A, rarely notice because you keep your feelings to yourself. B, can usually tell you're upset. If someone asks if you're okay, you share your feelings. Or C, can tell right away because you usually take your bad mood out on them. Okay, so what do you think the healthy response is for both of these situations? Okay, so if you said B for both question number 1 and number 2, or situation number 1 and number 2, then you are correct. Okay, so what made them healthy choices? B, recognize that you are sad and try to find out what went wrong. Or can usually tell you're upset. If someone asks if you're okay, you share your feelings. Both of those B responses are healthy choices because they took a balanced approach. Okay, the person acknowledged how they felt and managed the emotion in a healthy way. So what about the A responses? Okay, so tell yourself it's fine, but really you are hurt and confused. A, rarely notice because you try to keep your feelings to yourself. So what's in common about both of those responses? Okay, so yeah, it's unhealthy because you're holding your emotions in and you're keeping them hidden from others, kind of like bottling it all up inside. Okay, so that's not a healthy way to respond. So why do you think some people internalize their emotions? Well, yeah, maybe they believe they have no one to share their thoughts or feelings with. They might be afraid to speak up. They might think no one cares what they are feeling. Okay, so that might be a reason, but what can happen if someone doesn't express their emotions or they keep them hidden from others? Well, person might feel isolated, okay, or alone. They might feel rejected because the person doesn't trust them or with his or her feelings. Okay, it's not good to bottle up and keep your emotions inside. Okay, so let's take a look at the C responses, which is start sharing your sob story with everyone. C can tell right away because you usually take your bad mood out on them. Okay, so the C responses are unhealthy. Why? Because you're lashing out on someone. You're sharing too much. Maybe you're being too aggressive. Okay, so it's not a healthy way. And why do you think some people exaggerate their emotions or overshare their emotions with everyone? Well, maybe they need acceptance or recognition from others. Maybe it's for attention. Maybe they're afraid others won't notice them otherwise. Okay, they might not be getting the attention they think they need. And why do you think this happens what do you think happens when people dramatize or overshare their emotions? Well, some people might avoid them. They might tend to avoid them. They might think the person is self-centered, all about themselves. Yeah, okay, good job. All right, so remember the healthy responses are to make sure that you take a balanced approach, okay? You tell people or acknowledge how you feel and you manage it in a healthy way. Good job. Okay, good job. So we just learned how holding emotions in and oversharing emotions can prevent us from managing our emotions in a healthy way. So now we're going to identify healthy strategies to help manage our emotions. Okay, so we're going to take a look at management strategies that people who tend to internalize their emotions can use to help them open up. Okay, so I have a list here. If we were in class, I would have you guys come up with this list. But as I'm kind of talking, just kind of keep thinking of ways. So what I wrote down was find a trusted friend to confide in. Maybe that's the same friend you go to every time. Someone that you can trust. Write in a journal. I don't know if any of you have a journal at home. Journal writing is so excellent. It gets it all out on a piece of paper, and you can keep that journal hidden if you don't want to share it. Speak to a trusted adult or a counselor. Okay, you have one at your school. A counselor, you have, there are outside counselors that are available, maybe with the help of a parent or an adult. And a trusted adult, like a parent, an aunt, uncle, a cousin, or anyone that that you can trust. And maybe find someone to call on for support to help you work through the problem. So that's kind of like talking to a counselor or an adult or someone that you trust. Okay, so let's take a look on the right. It says which management strategies would help those who tend to exaggerate or overshare their emotions. Okay, so for somebody that tends to just let it all out and let too much out, maybe by counting to 10 or taking some deep breaths, they can kind of take a moment to think about what information that that should be shared beforehand before they just overshare and tell all. They can confide in a friend, okay, so not oversharing to everyone, but maybe just one person that they trust. And also write in a journal, okay, that one I love. Okay, so some emotions can be uncomfortable, but not dealing with your emotions can negatively influence our actions, okay? So we're going to observe how an emotional state can affect behavior with the scenario that I'm going to read. And it's about a couple of boys named Charlie and James. I have to, because it's only me, I have to play the role of the narrator, James and Charlie. Okay, so bear with me. I know my picture does not match Charlie and James, so I think I gotta fix that. All right, so the narrator reads, Charlie received a text message that said his girlfriend was seen holding hands at the movies this past weekend with Charlie's best friend, James. James and Charlie have known each other since kindergarten and live in the same neighborhood. They always meet up after school to walk home together. Charlie is not sure if he should believe the message. He is confused and getting angry. After school, James walks up to Charlie, happy to see him, and tries to high-five him. Okay, so that's the situation. I don't think he would be very happy with his best friend. Okay, so James. Hey, what's up, Charlie? Narrator. Charlie is pretty angry and does not return the high five. Charlie says, nothing. Narrator. As James keeps talking, he doesn't notice Charlie's mood. Charlie's anger is building up as he keeps thinking the message might be true. James. Well, I'm glad you're not up to anything because I have a favor to ask. My Spanish exam is on Friday and I need you to help me study tonight. Charlie. Leave me alone. Do your own studying. James. Whoa, what's up with you? We had a deal. You would help me with Spanish and I would help you practice for basketball tryouts. Charlie. Deal's off. I see what kind of friend you really are. I don't want to practice basketball with you or even talk to you again. The narrator says. Charlie walks off and James, confused, yells towards Charlie. James. Hey, what just happened? Narrator. James just stands there looking confused and hurt. Okay, so this friendship is in trouble, right? What was Charlie's response to the news about his girlfriend and James? Well, Charlie was upset with James, right? But did James know why? No, he really didn't, right? How did his emotions affect the way he interacted with James? Well, he was very rude to him, right? How did Charlie manage his emotions? Well, Charlie really didn't manage his emotions. He let his emotions manage him, right? His emotions, emotional response made the decision for him. And he might likely, or most likely, will be something that he regrets. So Charlie's reaction was based on an emotional response to the information he received. Even if the information in this message was true, would he still be responsible for managing his emotions? Yeah, definitely. We are responsible for our actions and their consequences no matter the situation. So understanding the thoughts and feelings behind our emotional responses makes us more aware and better able to manage our emotions. So did you think Charlie considered all the possible explanations for what he read before he got upset? No. Did he jump to a conclusion? Yeah, right? He didn't really know if that was true. Did he consider the effects his response would have on his friendship with James? No, no, he reacted. So at what point should Charlie have applied a strategy for managing his emotions? Well, after he read the message, he could have stopped, he could have thought about it, and he could have recognized his emotions to calm himself down before reacting. Okay, so maybe he could have counted to 10, or taken a deep breath, or walked away from the situation until he was ready. And then he really needed to talk it through with his friend. And that would have been the healthy response. Okay, so managing our emotions empowers us to manage our stress level and improve the quality of our friendships. It also helps you recognize the emotions of others. So do you think James did a good job recognizing Charlie's emotions? No, he was not really getting the hint that his friend was really mad at him, right? So if James actually stopped to recognize Charlie's emotional state, like his anger, he would have picked a better time to ask Charlie for a favor. Instead, he would have tried to find out why Charlie was so angry. Okay, so if someone asks you, "How are you?" and in the response you notice that their words are smiling, but their face is not, which do you believe? Okay, their facial expression or their body language, right? So a person's facial expressions and body language are good indicators of their emotional state. So facial expressions are universal. So what does that mean? That people throughout the world use similar facial expressions regardless of their language or culture. Okay, so people make the similar facial expressions for happy, sad, and other emotions. Okay, so if you look here on my slide, you can see maybe the first person looks like he's thinking, or maybe he's a little confused. The girl on the top in the middle, she looks happy, right? Let's see, how about down here on the left, then the bottom, he looks a little surprised. Okay, the one in the middle looks a little surprised. So our feelings of surprised, anger, sad, disgust, happy, scared, those are universal facial expressions, okay? So to be aware of that and to be able to match that to how someone is feeling helps us be more aware of others, okay, and their feelings. Okay, so sometimes we are too busy or caught up in our own feelings that we forget to notice the facial expressions of those around us. Facial expressions alert us to the emotions of others so we can act appropriately. Okay, so what is empathy? Okay, empathy is seeing through another person's eyes. It's the ability to identify and understand what other people are feeling, right? When we develop our ability to see through another person's eyes, we can relate on a deeper level. Okay, so often we overlook a person's emotions because we are too busy thinking about our own needs, or we simply can't recognize the problem they are dealing with. I'm going to read you a story. So you might not have been in this exact situation, but you probably felt these emotions. All right, so listen as I read. Okay, it's Tuesday at lunch in the cafeteria. It's pizza day, the best day. You're sitting with your friends talking about last night's TV show. Suddenly you hear a huge crash. Your friend Roscoe just tripped and spilled his tray all over himself. Pizza sauce everywhere. Milk is spilled. Although no one is crying, in fact, everyone is laughing. They are laughing their heads off. You start to laugh too. You laugh because you are so happy it's not you. But wait, you remember last year when you fell over a chair in the cafeteria and spilled your macaroni and cheese all over yourself. It was even in your hair. Yuck. You begin to remember how horrible it felt. Everyone was laughing at you. You even tried to laugh yourself, but it didn't work. You wanted to run out of there and hide for the rest of your life. All of a sudden, you stopped laughing at Roscoe. In your mind, you just traded places with him, and now you know exactly how he is feeling. Okay, so how do you think Roscoe feels in this situation? Or what do you feel for Roscoe in this situation? Sorry. Okay, so if you saw Roscoe and what happened to him in the cafeteria, most likely you would feel sad for him or embarrassed for him, right? And you might have been in a situation like that and have experienced that feeling before. So if you didn't identify how Roscoe was feeling, what might you have continued to do? You probably would have continued to keep laughing, right? Or if you were laughing in the first place. So empathy helps you to be a better friend. You can see past the joke and instead help your friend in need. Okay, so how would you put empathy into action for Roscoe? What could you have done in this situation watching what happened to Roscoe? Hopefully you would walk over to him and start helping him clean up. You could remind him of the fact that you know it's not funny because you were in a similar situation. That might make him feel better. You could explain to him that things like this happen to everyone sooner or later. Okay, and just by being there for him, it would have made him feel a lot better. And you would have felt the empathy that you felt for him would have helped his situation. Okay, so when we talk out our feelings and share our emotions, we become more connected with each other. So in our next lesson, we're going to explore using effective communication skills to build strong relationships. Okay, and that is the end of our lesson. Again, I have our scazaprevention@gmail.com email set up. So if you have any questions or comments that you would like to add, please feel free to do so and I will get back to you. I hope everybody has a great week and I will meet you again to talk about communication.